Well, hey everybody, it's Outland. How's it going? And welcome to a very special show again. And this time we have a really cool YouTuber on that I've been trying to get on for a long time, and I'm super excited to have him on and just to chat about all things outdoors and all things outdoors. So, without further ado, let's just get him on and get started. All right, everybody, please help me welcome Hiker Jay.
Alan, how you doing?
Good. How's it going, man?
It's going great. I'm actually super psyched to be talking to you because I've been following you for a while. And knowing that you're somewhat close to me too is kind of cool to follow YouTubers that are kind of in your region. So this is super cool. I love this series that you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah. This just kind of spawned out of the whole COVID situation, and just kind of had to happen. Yeah. So this is actually our second take on this because someone messed up the audio on the first try. So we're doing this again. So I again, man, I really appreciate you coming on again and talking to me.
No, I don't mind at all. I mean, this is outdoor activities and backpacking, camp, and all that stuff. I could talk about that forever. So
it's fun stuff to talk about. Yeah. So
yeah.
How's 2021 treating you so far?
2021, pretty similar to 2020. It's, you just make the best of it. It's a situation that we're all in. I'm really hoping for a better summer, or even spring, summer, where things open up a little bit. But for us, doing the overland thing, we just spend a lot of time. If we have a Sunday or whatever, we just go out and we go on 2 tracks out on state land and just explore. So that's been great. I have 2 boys, so high schoolers, so they like to go out with me, but I'd like to actually do more. I miss that community, of getting more people to go out camping and backpacking or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
I want to get back to that.
I understand. Yeah, it's been strange. 2020 was so weird with everything just being closed. They were even closing, the outdoors. They were closing state parks and things. So it was really strange there for a while, especially here in Ohio, because we only have we have different state parks, but we have one big one that everyone likes to go to because it's so beautiful and everyone likes to go there. And they were telling people, too crowded, can't go.
Yeah. Well, and we had a camping trip planned when everything sort of shut down in Michigan, and it was all just straight land. We do a lot of primitive camps, campground type stuff. And we were like, can we still go? I checked all the DNR stuff and it's basically said no, but we still went out just 2 tracking that weekend because I'm like, hey, we can drive down these roads. There were so many people out there in side-by-sides, trucks, Jeeps, whatever it might be. You're right. A lot of people were like, well, I feel like I can just go drive around in the woods and hang out, and so people were still doing it, which was cool.
Yeah. I mean, and you can do a pretty good job of social distancing when you're outside. It seems like.
Yeah, especially some of those side-by-side, ATV clubs. They were pretty cool, because they do kind of have their own little system and they can all go run in packs, but they're far enough away from each other.
Well, that's really cool. Yeah. Well, so for those of you who don't know your channel, can you tell us a little bit about your channel and what it's all about?
Yeah, so I always tell people, Hiker J channel is all about gear reviews, and just I started out in backpacking 2017, really doing backpacking gear, but then branched into just general camping, outdoor gear, reviewing outdoor gear. I think the big thing that changed it for me was I went to Outdoor Retailer Expo out in Colorado, and I just got to know a lot of brands and different people, and they start to connect you with, hey, you want to review stuff? We'll send you something. So once I got on that train, I loved it. And I kind of my thing is I like to try it. I like to use it for 2 weeks before I actually talk about it and review it. This Hydro Pack bottle I've been chugging out of for
nice.
The last week and a half. And I really hated it first, but now that I've used it, I see all the positivity of it. So I do feel like you got to try something for a while, because you might, it might get a product and you might just think, but once you actually incorporate it into your life, you realize, hey, this isn't bad,
I
can go with this. So that's where gear reviews, I'd love to do vlogs, that type of stuff, but it doesn't get as much traction. So I'll even get people to make comments about hey, why don't you vlog going out camping? And I've done it, but nobody watches them. So, and also it's kind of nice to just go with my boys and us just enjoy the wilderness and do those things, and whether it be backpacking, camping, or overland, whichever it might be.
Yeah.
So yeah, that, and I'd say now that I've gear review, and then this last year or so, it's been really overland, vehicle-based travel. I'm really into that whole concept. Whether it be, I have a Jeep, but it could be a truck, it could be a van, it could be anything. So really kind of leaning into that this year, pretty heavily.
And I am actually wearing my Jeep shirt.
I know, I saw that. I was a little jealous. Yeah. Yeah.
We'll get into the overlanding stuff here in a little bit, because I want to talk to you about that. But for sure. So I followed your channel for a while now. I think you've been doing it for quite a while now, right?
Yeah. I actually in 2000, well, yes, I actually started on YouTube in like 2007. I think it started in 5. And I was doing a lot of paintball. I had I was a captain of a paintball team, a scenario paintball team, where we do like 24-hour scenarios, and I'd go out to Utah and everywhere. It was pretty cool. So I was a lot, because I was sort of, I don't know, captain in charge. So I often just carried pistols instead of some heavy gun. And so I did pistol videos like randomly. And I remember it even being like on a picture camera, and I had to figure out how to convert it to like get it on. And then I'm like, oh, this YouTube thing lets me just put it up for free. So I did multiple those and just let them sit there, not knowing that I was getting subs. And then in 2016, we got into backyard chickens, using heritage breed chickens. And we built a whole coop. My brothers are builders. So we built a whole coop and got the chickens, raised them, and I took photos of the whole process. And I just sort of like whipped this video together that's very just like me walking around with a camera, not really any production value. And that started getting me subs, which I was like, oh, that's neat, whatever. And then backpacking, I'd gotten the new Crown 2, the Granite Gear Crown 2, when they redesigned it. And I'd used it a couple times, and then I just went out to our property and I just talked about it on a bench. And at that point was when I realized you could actually like make something of this YouTube stuff. You could get advertising, I didn't know any of that stuff. So then I was like, hey, I already got like 600 subs, from all this other stuff. Yeah. So I leaned into the outdoor stuff, really enjoying it, and sharing backpacking and camping with my kids as they grew older. My wife and I used to backpack. I backpacked a ton all the way through college and everything. But then when we got married, first 5 years, we didn't have kids. So we just backpacked, went out to Yellowstone, just did a lot of that stuff. And as many couples might romance, and you think, oh, we'll have children and we'll still backpack. Yeah, that's pretty rough. There are people who pull it off, and I'm impressed. But that's when we went to kind of like the small camper thing. Yeah. And so when I had done that Granite Gear video, was kind of like me getting back into backpacking now, because my boys are big enough to like walk some miles and do that stuff. So so that's how it started. And started watching some channels about how to develop a YouTube channel, like Sean Cannell, Media Thinks, I think is what Media Think or something.
Think Media, yeah.
Think Media, yeah. And just like going, wow, okay, you can scale this thing, you can do it. And then it's funny about people. I don't know how you do, but like when people find out you have a YouTube channel, they're kind of like, oh yeah, whatever, it's kind of like a joke. Yep. And then they realize you can actually make money on it, and it can be a little side hustle, a side job. And then they're like, oh, really? I don't understand. Why do you get money? And you're like, well, if people go to Amazon and purchase this stuff, I get a little bit of a commission, So that's been an interesting thing. So I generally don't tell a lot of people that I know that I do a channel, which is weird. Yeah. I just, I'd rather have my audience, because they're actually interested in the stuff. They're genuinely interested in it. So so that's kind of where I've focused on, audience growth. Yeah. In the field of outdoor gear.
Now, did you have to go through when YouTube did the process where you had to have a certain amount of hours to get ads and all that and views and everything? Because
they did it right when I made that Granite Gear. They changed it to 1,000 subs, and I was at like 600 something. I was like, what? Come on, it would have been so easy. So yeah, I had to pay my dues and that 400 subs that I had to get took. Yeah. I think it took a year. I think it was like, it was like almost a year. It was like 9 months to get it. And then I made like a couple $100 that year, Yeah, so, but yeah, that's the thing with like, Think Media, Sean, he had said stuff in the beginning about how like it's a grind. Most people don't realize that. Some people will make it fam and just it'll be great for them, but most people it's a grind. And one of the sessions he talked about was like be relentless, just be relentless. So even for like 2 years straight, I put a video every Thursday no matter what, you know. And even when I didn't feel like it, or I was tired or exhausted from my regular job, I was like, when I would get that in my head, I'd be like, be relentless. And so I'd figure out how to do it. And I don't know if you do the same thing. Like at first I was just doing stuff that I already had in my backpack, you know.
Yep.
It's like here's this stuff sack from OR, here's this, you know, like
right.
and then of course going out to Colorado and the, you know, the outdoor retailer, that's where I really connected with people. And now I get stuff, you know, that I can get sent to me or test stuff out or that type of stuff. I would love, you know, some stuff you get to keep and then some stuff you don't, like Aru kayaks. They're the foldable kayaks. They're I was just on an email before this with one of their promotions persons, and in a month she's going to send me a new version to test out, but I always got to send those back, and they're so hard because I have it for like 2 weeks and I'm checking out a bunch of lakes in Michigan and it's really fun, and then you got to send it back.
Oh man, I don't think I've had anybody make me send gear back yet.
Yeah, just a big ticket item, man. It's like,
wow,
you know?
that's
yeah,
tough.
but those are like $1,000, so I get it.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with it because they're fun to play around with, you know.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
So do you get a lot of offers, strange offers for gear like me still?
Oh yeah, China from
A lot of
oh yeah,
Chinese
absolutely.
companies. Just
Yeah,
the
today I got
most random stuff, you know.
clothing. There's things like we make amazing clothing, and I'm like, okay, I'm not sure what to do with that, but you know, it's not outdoor, it's just clothing. You just want to send me clothing, or
yeah, it's like or these like, would you like to try this massager thing? And it's like, no, that has nothing to do with my channel. Why would I want to
exactly.
review that? No.
I'm always like, it's a little off brand here. Yeah.
I
But what
would
I
even
did find out is that like last year I made the choice, like I take a lot of the like money I take and I just put it back in because we can get like what they call pro deals with businesses where you get a discount so you can purchase it, review it, keep it, whatever it might be. And so that's been great to be able to get those discounts finally. But even if I've learned that I love things like my big geeky thing is something that will do multiple things for you, right? Because in the wilderness, you don't want to carry a bunch of stuff. Like if something can do multiple things, oh, I'm into it, you know?
right.
And a lot of times those are like fringe stuff that people are making up or coming up with. And I realized with that, you have a small audience. So last year I invested in like a Goal Zero power system, a Yeti, one of the brand new Yeti coolers that came out, just some mainstream stuff just to talk about. And it was surprising like how good that was, because now I get like power systems, like I get contacted all the time for like power bank systems to review. And I
Nice.
think it's because I did a name brand one, you know. So like I got an Anchor one, I have an EcoFlow coming. My buddy who project I'm working on, redoing a van RV to be fully off grid. You know, he's got the full Blue Yeti system.
Wow.
So yeah, I found out it's kind of an interesting thing. It's like if you're willing to invest a little bit, these companies will realize and they'll be like, oh yeah, we'll send you stuff. Even the Yeti stuff, like because I invested, now they've sent me a couple, you know, cool little boxes and different things to test out.
Nice.
So
That's awesome.
yeah, yeah.
Huh.
I still like that unique, small, different stuff though. You know,
Yeah.
like those things that'll do the everyday carry stuff or whatever. But
Oh yeah, definitely.
yeah,
Huh. That's
yeah.
cool. Yeah, because you've shown some really cool stuff on your channel. Like, oh man, I have to get one of those.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny, like I know like I break the rule because you're supposed to like really find a niche and stick to it and you'll be, you know, they always are like that. But it's like I just like outdoor gear, so I'm gonna talk about all of it. You know,
Right,
so
right.
if it hasn't if it has an application to backpacking or camping or car camping, I'm happy to test it out and talk about
Well,
it.
you know, I've kind of learned that sticking to one niche doesn't necessarily mean anything because I have done nothing but hiking and backpacking for like 6 years now. And I think I'm still at 2,400 subs at this point. So
Oh, really?
yeah, I think I have
Yeah.
the record for the slowest channel growth ever.
That means it'll last the longest, right?
I hope so. I don't know. My thing is it's like I still do it. My thing is I'm going to keep doing it till it's not fun anymore, and it's still fun for me. I still love doing this. So sometimes I go out and I do a hike and stuff, and I don't film it, which is kind of nice
Mhm.
to not to have to
Yeah.
film it. But other times I want to get all creative and stuff, and I'll take the big camera out and just try all different kinds of angles and different shots and slow motion stuff and that's fun. I as long as I enjoy it.
Yeah, even like you did some Instagram posting this last weekend too, where you were out in the
Yeah,
like frozen
yeah,
waterfalls and
yeah. And I thought
that's
about
like
making
cool.
a video of that, and I was like, you know what? No, I'm just gonna go take some pics and just I want to just experience this, capture it with some photos, and that was all I wanted to do, and it was perfect.
Yeah, I have a video coming out tomorrow that's like I'd say if I could create videos all the time, it would be exactly this video. It was a camping trip we did last weekend with my son and well, vehicle camping. And I finished editing it today and posted it, and I was like, because I have a drone now, so I've got some like cinematic drone stuff in there, but it's more of a storytelling, It was basically we went camping, but we were trying out heated blankets in winter. Like the smaller one that's like built for your car, but you can plug it into like the battery pack and warm yourself up. But like as I did it, like I put in there for some reason the overland videos, it's always cooking. You got to stop cooking. They
Right.
like there's like a recipe to it. Over the top drone shots of driving some cool vehicle through some wilderness, a little bit of talking, cooking, a campfire, some more drone driving. Like it's like, and I'm like, so many times I have so many people I like to watch and follow, and I'm like, this is the same video as the last 17, but I like it. Chopping wood, you know.
That
um,
stuff's
so
fun to watch.
anyway, right. And so that was sort of the recipe of my video for tomorrow, which it was just fun. And I was saying, I don't think because it's more vlog style, I don't think I'll get a lot of views out of it, but it was the most enjoyable to make in the last 2 months. I
That's
had the most
awesome.
fun making that one. So
Yeah,
you're right. You got to make the stuff that you like to make
yeah.
too, because otherwise you don't get excited,
Right.
comes across flat.
Yeah, you got to have the feeling that you're enjoying it. You just did a video with a gear review
Absolutely.
with a chicken, and that was I think that won the internet for me. What was that?
Yeah, that was
Chicken
my
Steve?
chicken Kevin.
Kevin. Oh yes.
Yep, Kevin. Yep. Kevin's 6 years. It's actually female, but she's 6 years old, and but she's always the fan favorite. She's a Polish. It's a Polish breed, so it's got that big old
Beautiful chicken.
feathers on
Yeah.
top of her head. But oh, she's a blast. Yeah, she's a total blast. But and our chickens are living forever because they've got a pretty much Taj Mahal of a coop and everything. And
Yeah.
but yeah, she's great. I've done like stove videos with her hanging out with me. This time, I was overlanding with a chicken, taking her in the Jeep.
But she was
Actually, I
just
did,
like kind
yeah,
of like
out
a
installing some
dog or
stuff.
something. She was just like hanging out, just like hanging
Oh
out there
yeah.
like it was nothing, no big deal. I was like, I didn't know chickens did that.
They generally don't. I mean, when we got them, we raised them in our kids' playroom, with the kids holding them, and they're really used to people. My dog is part shepherd, so she was really good with them. She always just wants to make sure they're all in the same spot in the yard. It drives her nuts if one goes off somewhere.
That protective
She
dog.
once
Yep.
chased one into the Yeah, she once chased one right into the dog door. I heard the
Oh.
ruckus. I come into the kitchen, there's a chicken in the middle of my kitchen, and she's in the door going, yeah, you see this? This is a problem. Go get it with the other ones. I'm
That's
like, oh
awesome.
God. Yeah. Yeah. So chickens are fun.
Oh man, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah. Wow, that's hilarious.
I say my brother keeps telling me we need to take Kevin actually camping this summer.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, you
I'll
do.
take Kevin camping.
You
Yeah.
would get so many
Put a little
views with
leash on
that.
him, have him around camp.
You
Right.
could be
It'd be
your
a lot of fun.
camp chicken or chicken camp.
Yep.
Or yeah,
And
that would
it
be.
could be dinner too. If we ran into a problem, we'd be all
Oh
set.
no, that'd be a little rough. Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was just gonna ask you, what equipment are you using to film with these days?
So it's interesting. Like I started right off the bat, like I started with just a GoPro, GoPro 4, I think it was Hero 4. And I got all this equipment and I got the like mics for it, the Rode mics, the mini mode Rode mics and everything, and really used that a lot because it was so perfect for backpacking because it could kind of all get wet and it just was durable.
Yep.
I did a trip out to Alaska and it worked great. And so after that, I sort of I stayed with that system until I went to Colorado. Then I switched over and I use a Canon M50, which is kind of like the YouTubers. You know, it's like an SLR, but it's smaller, lighter. It's just kind of real easy. You can put
what
a
I'm
Rode mic
using
on
right
it.
now.
Oh, is it really? Okay.
That's this camera.
Yep, really great. Yep. So I've used that for the last 2 years. But honestly, I've gone back to my Hero 7 because of the simplicity of it. Like my video tomorrow, like just camping, it's just so simple. And the mic really isn't that bad. I think I was trying to push too hard. And I found that like just having a GoPro makes it so easy to film content and enjoy yourself. You know, you can do a quick time lapse, you can do that stuff. The other thing is like, I do miss, like, I want to incorporate like I love like those nature things where you can get in closer to see what, you know, something on a trail or something. Like I think we often walk quickly through a trail and look at the big picture. And that's where I think my M50 can help me get some of those closer, tighter shots that tell the story a little bit more. So, and that is a focus of mine for this next year, is to tell a little bit more of a story, not just a straight up review. Hey, this is how it works. I know people like that because YouTube's kind of a search engine. So if you're looking for something new, it's easy and it's clean. But I don't know, I like the storytelling too. So here's a funny thing. When I did the Hero 4 and then I got the Rode Micro and then all these cases that would, you know, these aluminum cases that you put them in and everything. Yep. And so Ulanzi started sending me stuff to test. To
Ulanzi,
use.
Yep.
Oh my God. And they were making them, like redoing them and doing different things. And one time I even said something and then they did it on it. So I don't know if they were paying attention, but now I sell a ton of Ulanzi cases for GoPros, like a ton. Oh yeah, probably like every day, a couple of them on my Amazon account, you know, on the Amazon. It's still thriving. It was a really good like push for me. It was tough because I was like, well, I don't want to do camera stuff, like, you know what I mean? But it fit because it's outdoor. So when I got the Hero 7, I didn't really do any videos on it because I was sort of like, that's where I was like, okay, now do I jump to the next step? And then do I really want to get the 9 and do that? And I guess I just want to make sure I can explain how it's applicable to camping, backpacking, you know, overlanding, you know, like I will do a review on my the Mini, the DJI Mini 2, though I'm a horrible driver on it. But I think it's gonna be great because I think my video is gonna be like, hey, complete novice, right? Like I've watched all the videos of these pros that really know what they're doing, but like the fact of the matter is I started with never driving a drone, you know? And so like the fascinating thing I found out was I thought it was going to be really hard, but of course the, you know, DJI stuff is just so stable. But by watching other people and what they do, they basically get it up there, let it sit there, and then drive under it. You know, like it's not like you have to be this pro flyer. You position it like a camera person up there for you or in front of you, you know, or when you're driving just right in front, so you can just push the go stick, you know, a little bit back so it's going right in front of you or something. So I'll do something like that when spring hits, I'm sure, on it. Just because it's cool to capture your adventures, you know. And it's really small. I don't think I would take it backpacking. It's small, light, but I don't know. I think I'd just take a GoPro. You know.
Yeah, that's why I don't have a drone yet, because I would crash it and be very upset that I wasted $500 or more.
I know. Well, I've crashed it 4 times already, and yeah, everyone makes you just your heart sink, you know.
Oh my!
But they have the DJI Care, so I bought that insurance, and it's like they'll give me 2 replacements, 1 water replacement for the year. So I'm like, all right, let's do this.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. So if you crash it in water, you can get a replacement 1 time. That's cool.
1 time for water, 2 times for anything else. You know what I mean? Like if you just smash an arm off or something, they'll replace it for the whole in the first year. So I guess cool. I could have done a 3-year plan too, but I can extend it later. But that made me feel a lot more confident at like, you know, going after it. So,
Sure. Yeah, I follow another guy he's in Michigan too, and he does a bunch of drone shots over the lake. I think Lake Huron is where he goes a lot. And
okay.
the last one of the last videos I watched of his, he was flying his drone out. He went way out over the water and did this flyover of like this island or something that he was on. And I was like, oh my gosh, what if the battery go? You know, I was like,
Right.
oh man, but it was so cool. I mean, it's just a whole
Yeah.
new level of video, just sweet. It looked so pretty. I mean, and it was in the summer, so it looked like the Caribbean or something. The water was so beautiful. And I'm like, oh man, I want a drone now.
Right. Right. Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'll fly over lakes yet. I'm not sure. I don't know. If unless I have some big floaty underneath it.
Yeah, right. But
Yeah.
I know what you're saying though about the GoPro, because that's what I used for the longest time. And I stopped. I have a GoPro 5 as the where I kind of stopped with the GoPro, and then I got this Canon. But you know, taking this thing out is it can just be a pain. You know, it's like it's not
Yeah.
waterproof, so you got to worry about, you know, I can't get this
Yep.
thing wet, and what happens if I, you know, do this or that. And so sometimes it's so like just a GoPro is so much easier. I could just, you know,
Right.
not worry about it. If I drop it, it's fine. If it gets wet, it's fine. So yeah, I was thinking about
Yep.
maybe um, not necessarily going back to GoPro, but getting the, you know, the latest one and taking it with me on
Hmm.
more trips again, because the stabilization is so amazing. Uh,
Oh,
they've come such a
yeah.
long way. And you know, it was cool
Yeah.
because even with the 5, I was able to film in 4K. So and then I kind of had to go backwards with this camera because you can't use 4K on this thing. It's terrible.
Yeah. No.
Uh,
No.
so a lot of times
Yeah.
I'll
The 9 is I. Oh, sorry.
oh, I was just gonna
I
say a
like the
lot of
Hero
times
9 a lot.
yeah, it's really nice. I've seen my friends, I have some friends with it, and I'm like, wow, this just looks like it's on a gimbal and it's just straight out of the box. Amazing.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And they really are the perfect camera for for backpacking and hiking and overlanding, especially. You mount it to your dash and
Oh yeah.
everything. It just makes sense.
Yeah. I've put it down in front of big old mud puddles, icy puddles, while I, drive through, and I don't really care if it gets hit or covered, because it's kind of a cool angle of a shot. Yeah, it's like it's just so simple, and it's really pretty easy inside of a car too. Like that wide angle, like gives
Hmm.
you a great shot to speak and everything. So
Yeah, it
yeah,
just
I
looks good. Yeah.
yep.
Yeah. So, what are some of your favorite places to go hiking and backpacking and now overlanding?
Yeah, so backpacking, um, well, Yellowstone was pretty amazing. That was way back in the day.
Hmm.
Nowadays, there's this, at least for Michigan, for a quick trip, it's called Hoist Lakes. It's a kind of middle of the mitten, and that's great because it's got 7 different lakes, good variety. You can fish, panfish off of some of the lakes, and just, you know, we've sat there and had one person catching them, one person filleting them, and one person cooking them, type of thing, right on the lake. And so that place is great. But I'd say my my favorite place, probably because I grew up as a kid like this with my dad and my brother, being older, they first went there, and then it became that place that you just wanted to go, was Isle Royal,
Oh yeah.
island right in the middle of Lake Superior.
Hmm.
That is just epic. I mean, there's a lot of controversy now because they replaced the wolves, but back when we used to go and everything, it was just it was untouched. It had all the same animals of when way back when, and the wolf population, the moose, all those things were just
So they
really
don't have the
cool
wolf. They don't
to
have the wolf
hear and
pack
see.
anymore up
Well,
there.
so what happened was somehow, I think this was 6 years ago. Somehow somebody from a boat brought dogs and whatnot and all that stuff, and the pack got parvo and pretty much wiped it out. They were down to like one or two that were really sickly and inbred and tiny. So they died. And then
Oh,
the moose just like multiplied like you wouldn't believe. So then they were like really having trouble with managing the moose and knowing that they'd probably have to do a hunt. So 2 years ago, they took and they grabbed moose from Minnesota, Wisconsin. I mean, a wolf from Minnesota, Wisconsin, different places, and weather came in. So I think they got 2 or 3 in that first year. One of them walked all the way across the ice, went home to Minnesota.
Oh,
Another
what?
one died somehow, so only one made it through the winter. And then the next year, which was I think last year, they populated with like 7 or something with diverse, because they really wanted to diversify the gene pool. And now they're doing great. I've heard with puppies and everything, there's somewhere around 20 some.
Oh,
And now
wow.
people are more worried about too many wolves and all that stuff. But I believe it. I'm a believer that they should be there because they always were, and we were the
Yes.
ones that in a way eradicated them.
Hmm.
It's fascinating because they also have loons like crazy on the island. So they have pictures of like people would go up there and they had mounds of loons that they used to do to exterminate them. Because what people don't realize is loons are really territorial. So they're very annoying when there's a lot of them. They just swoop you and they do their, one morning, a buddy and I we just camped when you can get sites, but also we just did off camping, so as long as it's not raining, we just put down our mats and stuff and just sleep without a tent. And we must have been we were by the shore. We must have been really close to one of their things, because man, we woke up in the morning and they were just swooping us back and forth and waddling
Wow.
and everything. And we're like, well, I guess that's why people think they're annoying, but they have a lot of loons now, because obviously they're protected,
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I
just a
only know
cool
like
island.
the
Just
romantic sounds of them that, ooh,
yep,
just the one or
right.
two, but I can
Oh, you get a
imagine a whole
pack of
bunch
them
of,
and they're like a mean biker gang, man. You're like,
oh man.
yeah. Yeah.
That reminds me
But
of,
that's,
I don't know if you've ever heard a whippoorwill bird,
oh yeah.
but oh, they're the most
Yep.
annoying bird.
Yeah. Yep.
So how far are you from Isle Royal?
It's a 7, almost 8 hour drive for us
Okay.
up there. So usually it's a day up, camp somewhere there close, or sleep in your vehicle and then take the boat. The boat is like 6 hour boat ride.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Um,
Because it's like for me, it's like a 12-hour trip just to get the shore, the ferry or the plane or
yeah.
whatever. And then another 4 or 6 hours or whatever it is to get to, I mean, that's a long trip from
Right.
Ohio.
It's
Ah,
I will say it's pretty worth it though, man. If you can go in August or September, wow. It's just, the black flies are kind of gone. And you can also charter a boat, a plane. My dad and my brother would do that when I was really young. They did that a couple times. And it's a seaplane, just goes in and, then you're over there in like an hour.
oh, wow.
But the seas are rough. Like, they get some nice good rollers in there. So if you're prone to, seasickness, be ready for it, but I've never really had any problem with it, which is good. But there are a lot of people up chucking up the side of the boat.
Yeah, because
Today.
Superior's, it's the deepest of the lakes, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, and you're out there right in the middle of it, so it's just rolling, and they're just roll like 5 foot rollers.
Oh my
I guess that's
goodness.
where you get really sick. Yeah.
Wow.
Um, but it's an adventure. It's awesome. Everybody gets off the boat and passes all their packs off. And they have two kind of like, I guess what I'd say civilizations, on the island at each end, where you drop off, but the rest is all just raw and trails, um, and different unique trails. And I like just going over the spine of the island. That's probably, for new people, it's just the best route. But
Wow.
yeah, really love Isle Royale.
Is it a permit system? Like there's only so many people allowed at a time to backpack?
Yeah. Yes, you do have to like kind of like a state park reserve.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you're like almost like you're reserving your spot,
Okay.
like a camping spot. Yeah. And they don't give out a lot of backcountry to be able to just sleep backcountry. Like they want you in the sites. They have a lot of really good platform tents or platform screened in lodges, a lot like the AT.
Hmm.
They do have a lot of those, but I have found there's a culture on the island that you get up early, pack up your stuff, and you hike as fast as you can to get to the next spot. Like, so you'll do like 8-9 miles and you try to be there by noon or 1 so that you can get a campsite. And then you just kind of sit there for the rest of the day. And so that's why we always like to have back country, because, for me, you walk a while, check things out, walk a while, check things out, have dinner, then walk another 3 hours. And then when it starts to get dark, just lay down wherever you are and sleep, you know? So,
Yeah.
I mean, that has gotten us into some trouble with moose up there, but,
Hmm.
because we've had one follow us all the way through the dark up this
Oh,
balding
wow.
and everything. It was,
I bet that was a little
oh yeah, it
scary.
was terrible. It was, you know, and you go with, backpackers, they're kind of a different breed. And I had stopped along the trail. It was dark. We didn't get to where we wanted to. It got dark before we got there, but we knew we were only like a mile and a half up this thing where we wanted to get to, and Mosky Basin. And I have to take a leak, so I turn sideways on the trail, and I'm going to the bathroom. And then I hear something in the woods, and I'm like, "Oh, hey, something's out there, you know." And then I hear like a big old crack, because moose just move through stuff. They don't care. They break things. And I go, "Oh," I said, "That's got to be a moose." And then you hear hear it snort, and then like I'm zipping up, and my buddy's standing there sideways too. And now I'm like, oh God, it's coming towards us. We can hear it's getting close, like coming towards us. And he just like pulls out his little hatchet he has, and he's standing there. And I'm like, all right, unhook your belt, unhook your sternum strap. We're hiking out of here. If you hear it come, let your pack take it and roll out of it. And I go past him. As I go past him, he's standing there with his hatchet, and he says, never turn your back on the enemy. And I was like, oh God, just let me know how that goes, man.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're gonna lose.
Just one of those people. I know, exactly. I'm like, over 1,000-pound animal and your little hatchet, that's like,
Oh, wow.
collapsible hatchet, So we walked and we hiked up, and it followed us like for like a half mile in the woods, crashing through it and everything. We finally got over kind of this rock area where I don't think it wanted to come out of the woods. We got over that and then up some more. But when we hit that kind of open space, it finally left us alone. So we talked to rangers, and they're thinking that it was a female with a calf, probably.
Yeah.
Just didn't like us, that they were going to be sleeping there, and she didn't like it. So, but yeah,
wow.
Moose are great, scary, big beasts.
Yeah. I saw one from a distance. When I was in Colorado, I saw what we believe it was a moose back in some brush. It was just sitting there, like we're like, it has to be a moose. There was nothing else it could have been. I mean, it was enormous, and it was like, wow, that's a huge animal. But
it's weird because like in Alaska, they're so common, and we came across them a lot. We were kind of all over with this trip that we did, and they tell you totally stay away from them. They own the world, they own the wilderness. But I had ran into some guys that guided hunting. They do like big hunts, and stuff. And I said, yeah, you guys do moose much? And they're like, not really. And I'm like, really? There's so many. He says, it's kind of like shooting a cow. He says, you don't need to be guided. They just stand there because they're not afraid. There's so many of them. He says, you just walk up to it and shoot it. And it's like shooting a cow, And I was like, I guess that makes sense, because every time we came across one, yeah, they're just standing there and they don't care. They're not going to go anywhere. They're like, so I'm like, yeah, it would be really easy because they're not afraid of humans at all. Just the highways somewhat, but
way back when I was working at another job, I had to go to Anchorage, Alaska for work. We had an office up there, and I never saw any. I was so mad because I never saw any moose, but they just kept talking about the moose. Like that's like the whole culture in Anchorage. Is like everything's named. There's like a moose pizza place, like a real famous moose pizza place, and and they're like, they just walk down the street, and they would show me video of security cam of a moose walking into the building, walking into the buildings everywhere. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, why can't I see one of these? But then I was like, I don't think I want to.
Yeah. Well, the first time I got on Isle Royale, I hiked half the island and never saw one. And I was getting kind of bummed. And then I don't know what day it was anyways, but the one just came out of the woods and like flopped right in front of us on the trail and was going the same direction we were, right? I was like, holy cow, that's bigger than a horse, but like its rear end had the biggest colony of flies and bugs and nastiness behind it, like as we're walking. And I'm like, this isn't majestic at all. This isn't majestic, But like later, like a day or two later, we found a mom and a calf out in the water doing that real moose stuff. We got some awesome pictures. So.
That's so neat. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, you're pretty fortunate to be up there in Michigan. Living here in Ohio, Michigan is one state that I have not done much hiking in at all. I've been all
Really?
around. I've been south, west, east, Indiana even. But Michigan, I'm like, okay, I got to go up and do pictured rocks. I need to go, do this, do
Yep.
that.
Oh, Pictured Rocks is great.
Yeah, I just
Another
keep,
one is Manistee River Trail
mm,
over south of Traverse City. Most people know what Traverse City is up in the Willamette
yeah.
Peninsula. But I lived in Cadillac. I lived like 30 minutes away from the Manistee River Trail for about 4 years, and I would just go out there all the time and hike. But it's got some really good vistas and looks like the river. One side of the river is really high, and the other side is really low. So
Oh,
it's really fun to hike there and camp back there. And actually, when I was guiding, you'll find this interesting. When I did like a couple of years of guiding for a company out of Holland, and I was always just like the grunt guide. Wasn't like the pro guide, but they always have two guides no matter what. Somebody who's got a lot of education and experience in the wilderness, and then me. So we were taking a group through there, and I ended up having there was a group that with a lot of blisters these kids did and stuff. So I stayed back with them. The main guide took most everybody up to the campsite to get it set up and get people eating. So I've got like, that situation where you're just like, just give me the pack, kid. So I've got a pack on my front and my pack on, walking along, sweating away. I get into camp, I take it down, and I'm just like ready. I'm like, give me some mac and cheese or something, right? Well, the head guy, he's like, yeah, the kids' bathrooms over there. Guides, we're over here. Jason, I'll show you where it is. Why don't you come with me? So I go over there, right? And it's probably only like 40 feet off the river, and there's like a primitive camp made in like a log building made about 3 feet high, and then it looked like they made a roof out of it with a tarp over top of it, and then that had collapsed, and then this like sleeping bag with like, I swear, like an arm sticking out, right? And I'm
oh,
like, what is that? And he's like, yeah, I was waiting for you so we'd explore it together. So I'm like, oh my God, is there a body, And he's like, I don't know. So we go in there with a stick and we find out that it's just an old sleeping bag that was pulled out, a bunch of stuff. There's tons of like gallons of jugs everywhere, all these water jugs and things. So we're like, okay, it's been here for a while. Let's not worry about it. It looks old. Let's just go back to camp and tell everybody this is our bathroom side so they don't go there, Well, of
uh,
course, you know how it is. Like you go and you're like, now you're on high alert. We go to bed early. And the first, thing you say is, so where do you think the body is, man? Like we're freaking each other out. So we don't sleep at all. When we got out the next day from there, we called the DNR, and basically what it was a squatter spot for their marijuana plantation. So they
oh,
would have somebody stay out that camp, fill the water, hike it into wherever they have their marijuana plant on state land, and water it. I'm just like, well, that sounds really dangerous. So the DNR sent somebody out to investigate it, clear it, make sure it was all clear. But it was pretty old. You know what I mean? It had
mhm.
broken down, but it was such a trip, that they actually built like a four, a log cabin style thing, four up, and then the roof. I mean, they had a whole little homestead back
Wow.
there, and just wild. Yeah, yeah, the things you see, you know.
Yeah, that always scares me, running into something like that when I'm out in the way in, in the boonies somewhere, like running into a marijuana grow or something. Somebody's gonna, come out,
Right.
because there's a lot of that down in Kentucky. I don't know if you've ever been down to Red River Gorge or not, but there's a lot
Yep.
of like you'll find bushcraft shelters in the middle of nowhere. And a friend of mine found a place that was like this, it was like these wooden A-frame shelters, and there was like targets on trees, and like they had this whole, like it almost looked like a military camp set up, like just crazy. Like,
Okay.
what is that? Why is it may just be
Right.
like teenagers, but like, I mean, like punching bags, like, like, oh, like a terrorist training camp or
Like a
something,
militia
like
training
a
area.
militia. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're just like in the middle of the woods. Like, what is this doing here? And who do I tell?
Right.
I guess I tell somebody, or what the heck? So I'm always like,
Right.
oh man, am I going to run into some crazy thing?
And I too, sometimes you worry about that, especially hiking with my wife or whatnot, and definitely kids when I was guiding. But when you look at the statistics, it's so much safer to be backpacking and staying in the wilderness than it is driving a car.
Sure.
Like, yeah, those things happen and everybody gets really worried about them when somebody disappears or something bad happens. But statistically, I've always found it's pretty darn safe.
Yeah,
Um,
Absolutely.
But yeah, you do get the willies sometimes. Yeah.
All right, so we got a few minutes left, so let's talk about overlanding. Let's talk about your obsession with that and how you got into the overlanding thing as heavy as you have.
Yeah. So so I do have to say, in take one that we took of this, we talked about your Jeep Renegade and the Jeep Toaster. I
Yes.
love those things. I love them. And that was almost my next vehicle. So I started out with just like an old TJ two-door Jeep 2000, and just used it to like ram around and drive to work, and it was a stick and everything. But I was so worried to take it off road because I thought it would break in half, and it did. It broke in half on the road outside my neighborhood, like a normal
Oh
road.
my.
Yeah, the frame broke one day and it was done.
Wow.
Um, well, a buddy of mine took it and he rebuilt the whole frame, and it still drives on, but it was way more
Huh.
than I thought. So I went and looked, and Renegades were just coming out. Absolutely loved them. Drove a lot of them, and especially the Trailhawk version was like, I was like, oh, this could be really really fun for like driving, camping, even content, for YouTube. But it just so happened this Jeep that I got currently right now, a JK, um, a guy, I just went to a local place in Bay City, and well known for like just being around for a long time. The guys are really fair, that type of thing. And it was sitting in the back, and I said, well, what's that? And he's like, I don't know, it just came in, I'm not really sure. And it ended up being an Oscar Mike version, which he didn't realize. And so I got a really good deal on it because it just came in and he didn't get to do his research. He just threw a price at me. And so a couple days later, I had a full JK.
That's
I
awesome.
would have loved to have like a Rubicon with the better axles and all that, but quite honestly, I think you said in this last one, like you were surprised how capable your Renegade is. Same thing with a JK, a stock Jeep, can do a lot. So at first I was careful because I didn't want to get stuck. I didn't have a winch, I didn't have any type of lift. So you're really kind of careful not going out if you're not going out with somebody.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because a year in, I got a winch, I got a lift, I got all this stuff, and I was going over stuff that I could have went over right away. Like I was amazed how capable the Jeep was just on its own. Um, so I've loved that. But when I went out to Colorado for the outdoor retailer show, they have this like pre-show out on a beach in Colorado where they have all these like kayaks you can try out. All this stuff is pretty cool. Meet a bunch of people, and I met this guy Scott Berry, who is the editor for Overland Journal. This guy has circumnavigated the world on some type of wheeled vehicle, motorcycles, car, trucks, everything, like 7 times, right? Just a super cool dude. He had the full on like Tacoma with like, the tent on the top and the awning that goes all the way around and like the cool chairs. And he took time, he let me interview him, and he was like the most personable, cool guy. He just loved like overland, and he described it like this. And this is where it really hit me was he said, it's something that's been around since people came back from World War II when they started doing airstreams. It's vehicle-based exploration, vehicle-based travel. He said, yes, like obviously I take it to the nth degree, but it doesn't matter. He says it can be a mom that throws a couple kids in a station wagon and goes, traveling the state and camping. It can be somebody that's got a full-out Jeep rig that travels. He says it's vehicle-based exploration, and that really stuck to me. Like that whole thing of like vehicle-based exploration, being self-contained and being able to be like good to go for like a week if you needed to right off that one vehicle. So so that really sparked it for me. I got the Jeep, and I've just been going ham since. I built a kitchen in the back of it, a pull-out kitchen. I could definitely buy these things, but I have a wood shop and it's just kind of fun to play around and modify and make. So the first year I did like the kitchen. This last year I did the platform for the sleep system that I have in there. So it's all set up for solo.
Nice.
So when my sons go with me, we got a tent we just throw out. My Nemo tent we just throw out. But if I go solo, I can just do it on my own. My like my first passenger seat, like behind the driver's seat, I just push the chair up, and that becomes what I call my living room, where I watch movies at night and stuff, and then I can just crawl in bed, and it's just
So cool.
cool. I love that whole concept of being self-sufficient.
Yeah.
Um, and that kind of leads into kind of stuff I got into this last year. I got a buddy who bought an old van RV, and we've been remodeling it. And then my son got an Astro van. We've been van lifing that. We put an insulated floor in, doing the wood walls, and then he did window coverings and everything. So it's been really fun, like building this community, having this community that can will go camping and live out of their vehicles and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's where that all came from. I absolutely love it. It's a I guess it is sort of a niche on YouTube, Overland, but you look at the search engine SEO stuff, and it's been like for the last 2 years really growing, which is cool.
There are a lot of
really
Overland YouTube channels now. I was amazed when I started kind of researching. I was like, wow, there's a lot of these people doing this, and just really cool stuff. A lot of you see these people, in Colorado and stuff, and like, oh my goodness, it's like. Okay.
Yeah, I feel like I live in a lame state sometimes when I see these these people out in like Moab and whatever, in these huge vistas, and I'm like, here's another tree, and here's the tree.
Ohio is terrible because we don't even really have that many. We have only a couple small places with like public land where you could even go. We have a national forest here where you could kind of do some off-road trails type thing, but it's really bad. Like there's really almost nothing you have to go out of state. So, I have to go over to.
They don't have like the state land then and stuff like.
Not really, not a lot.
Okay.
It's pathetic. It really this is really like I'm living in like the worst state if you love the outdoors. It's like it's the antithesis of the outdoors here in Ohio. Well, I shouldn't say that. There's some good hiking and stuff, but when it comes to overlanding, I have to go to Indiana. I go over to Hoosier National Forest, or just recently I went down to Land Between the Lakes. I think I told you that in our last one. That's down in Kentucky and Tennessee. It borders both those states, and I was just I was amazed. There's all kinds of overland trails all over that whole area. It's a national recreation area, and it's obviously between two lakes, so you've got big water on both sides. It's a strip of land, and people go down there and they overland this. I didn't realize it was a huge thing. So we were down there backpacking, but I saw convoys of Jeeps, JKs, like 4 or 5 deep, overlanding, and there's different levels of trails there. So what I didn't know, but there's like a 100 through 500 level rating on these roads.
Classification or something?
Classification, of difficulty. So 100 is really easy, and 200 gets harder, 300 gets harder. Well, so I turned down a road. I was like, oh, this is a shortcut. It's 300 road, 300 something. Okay, well, cool. Well, that was basically a middle to upper level difficulty overlanding road. So it's, all of a sudden I'm, my little Jeep, I'm driving across creeks and through streams and stuff. And I'm like, well, this is kind of cool.
That's so cool.
But that people make fun of me, but that little Renegade did fantastic. I mean, I just cut through that stuff like it was nothing. I wasn't even really.
I bet if you just got a little small lift on it, like a 2-inch lift or something, and man, you could do anything.
Yeah, I put those Falcon all-terrain tires on it, and man, that thing does great. So,
the Falcon tires are some of the best. Like people don't get it, but like people go for the
BF Goodrich,
and all that and everything. But like, man, I went to Falcons just over a year ago now, and I've gone through snow, mud, water, rain.
They are awesome.
They're great. I'm very happy with them. I'm like, I'm not changing. Like, I'll put new ones on there from that. I'll stick with it.
Me too. I want to put Falcons on my wife's Dodge Journey, which is basically a station wagon. I'm like, I'm getting Falcon tires, like all terrains for this thing. It's all-wheel drive.
Dude, I've always thought. So I've got glasses very similar to yours, and I've always been like, God, we're so like. So my wife drives a Dodge Journey, dude.
Oh, really?
I kid you not. That's too funny.
Oh no, you're my doppelganger.
I know. I think that's what it is, man. But I after you talked about that, I was thinking I'm definitely gonna do like a 4-day weekend and shoot down to that Kentucky area because it's cool. Like we have like Drummond Island. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. It's between the UP and the Mitten. On the east side, and they have some like very similar to what you're talking about, like that style of off-road where you can go over rivers and stuff. but that's really the only place that's like that in Michigan. I mean, we have a lot of just woods,
Yeah.
mud, woods, mud. We got some really sweet sand dune areas too, and I've done that before too. But
Cool.
like, I'd love that idea of like crossing rivers and, you know,
Yeah, it was pretty neat.
that whole thing.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
not the most dramatic area. I mean, I kept thinking, I'm like, this looks a lot like Ohio actually, but it was pretty cool to have all those options. Like, if you're an outdoor lover,
Right.
then you've got all these options. If you want to hike, you want to, you want to drive, off road. And I guess there's a lot of water type activities you can do in the lakes. So it was pretty diverse area. It was really cool. And
Yeah.
the wildlife, I was surprised by the wildlife down there. I was like, okay, because it's Western Kentucky, what's going to be there, But actually did see 2 or 3 piles of bear scat down there. So there are black bears down there, which was kind of interesting.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. One thing that's interesting about Michigan that people don't know is that we have wild boar in Upper
Hmm.
Michigan. Ted Nugent wanted to have them like permanently placed, and it was a big fight with the DNR, blah blah blah. So everybody believes that Ted Nugent delivered the boar up north, and everybody believes that he put them up there. But deer camps are fun because you can take them. You can take them anytime you want. So you'll go to like the real, the upper part of the mitten where there's a lot of hunting going on and a lot of buck poles, and you'll always see boar hanging from them. It's
Oh,
crazy.
wow. Jeez.
So weird.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
one thing that I was going to tell you should check out is, sorry. One thing I was going to tell you should check out is the Ozark overlanding group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've been following their stuff, and that might be a little closer to you than it is to me, but they do a lot of cool videos and stuff. They go out and, really document their trips. It's cool.
Yeah, actually, the land between the lakes isn't that far. It was about a 5-hour drive for me. But if you just keep going a little further west, like another 2 hours or so, you're in the Ozarks, which I was like, wow, I didn't realize how close to Missouri I was. Um, and
Oh yeah,
actually,
that's cool.
and if I would have gone, and if I would have had time, I could have gone an hour north up to Illinois to Shawnee State Forest. I think it's Shawnee State Forest. There's it's called Garden of the Gods, but it's the Illinois version of Garden of the Gods. But there's this giant rock cliffs that are like just really cool to hike through. And I guess there's backpacking up there too. But I was like, wow. And I really wanted to see that. So I've been wanting to see that for a while. So it's kind of all right there. It'd be really cool to see.
Right.
But yeah, I do
So
want to
you
get
don't
out.
live in that big of a lame place.
No, that's one good thing about Ohio is, it's a few hours drive in almost any direction and you're someplace cool. So, I could be in the Smokies in 5 hours. I can be up in Pennsylvania in 4. I could be in West Virginia in 5. Just Kentucky in 2.5. So, some pretty cool options. But yeah, but like you were saying about overlanding is, kind of like, I think we talked about this before, but it's kind of like the means to get to cooler places. Like, it's how I see it is another way of getting someplace really cool that I want to check out. And now I have that option of I can drive even further and not just hike there, but I can drive to get there easier. And that's just cool to me. That really appeals to me. So I kind of, that's why I've been getting into it. I'm like, I have this vehicle that's fairly capable, and I'm not as scared to go out. I've because my past vehicles have been like, I've gone to some trailheads and just been like, if I get stuck on one of these roads, I'm in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
So it's nice having the comfort of that vehicle that is capable to get you in some of those places that.
Yeah, I had an Envoy for a long time, and I thought I could do things with it, but I got stuck a lot and hauled out a lot because it just, and I guess that's where my fear came with like the JK. But my goodness, they're so much more capable.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
they can just scurry on, on top of stuff so much differently than your average SUV.
And my wife didn't believe me with the Renegade really because she hadn't really driven it out anywhere crazy like I had. But we just had about like 10 inches of snow last week. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, you're driving the Jeep. And she's like, is it really going to be that much better than my car? I was like, just drive the Jeep. And she, she put that thing in all-wheel drive lock, and she's like, okay, you weren't kidding. It didn't slide once. It cut through the snow like nothing. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, that's because I put good tires on it, and it's a good vehicle, and it's
Yeah.
got a pretty high clearance, and yeah, you shouldn't have any problems. It's like,
Yep.
if you get
Yeah.
stuck, I'm going to be extremely surprised if you get stuck in that Jeep. And she's like, you're right. It got me exactly where I needed to go. No problems. So
That's too funny because last week the same thing we got hit. We got only like 6 to 8, and the same thing. My wife had to go somewhere, and I was like, just take the Jeep, and it's tall for her to get in, and all that stuff. She just likes her her journey, but she was like, yeah, I probably should, and I'm like, because it's really slushy around corners and getting out. And she came back. I said, how'd you do? And she goes, oh yeah, I didn't get any problems. She says, but I feel a lot of pressure. I feel like people are looking at me expecting me to go faster or get out of the way faster because I can, because and she's like, there's too much pressure driving that vehicle. I'm like, more pressure than worried about getting stuck in a snowbank with the journey. I'm like, what is that? So yeah, she's funny about it. She does enjoy driving it though. Even though I have the doors off a lot in the summer, and she says she doesn't like it, but when she takes it alone, she seems to enjoy herself
she
quite a
likes
bit.
it.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I can see what she's saying though, because there's kind of that pressure though with the community. It's Jeep people are their own certain kind of community, and they're even split up within the community. So there's the JK guys, and then there's the
Yep.
the renegade. They don't like the renegade guy. A lot of them don't. Some do.
The Cherokee guys.
The Cherokee
Yeah.
guys, and they're just kind of like, oh, And my buddy had he's the one who got me into Jeeps. He had a what was it? It was a Rubicon. It was like the Call of Duty Black Ops
Oh,
edition.
nice.
He had one of those, and
Yeah.
he took me for a ride, and I was like, this is the coolest thing ever, man. This is just
Yeah.
insane. And yeah, so he lived in Florida, but he would take it everywhere, like go through swamp rides and do cool stuff like
Yeah.
that. I was like, so neat. But he would tell me, he's like, yeah, he's like, if you get a Jeep, he's like, you're gonna get scrutinized by other Jeepers, and you may have some that'll wave and some that won't. And, it's just,
Yeah.
that's kind of how it is. But they're kind of like
Yeah.
Harley
My
Davidson
wife.
owners.
Yeah, I was gonna say my wife tells me it's my midlife crisis vehicle. And it's like, and it sort of is because I love doors off in the evening in summer. Like I'll just take a drive just because it's so nice. But to me, it's safe because I got a roll bar,
Mhm.
all this stuff, and I have a really good friend that does really long haul motorcycle trips. And I just would never get one. I'm always like, but Mike, I could follow you with the doors off. It's very similar. It's like he's like, I don't think it'd be as cool at the bar, but but it is the same as like bikers. There's a community around it, which is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, I had two bikes in my past life, before marriage and kids. And well, we got
Yeah,
married, and she's like, you're selling the motorcycle. And I'm like, really? Okay. But I
yeah,
do miss that, but I probably wouldn't get another one because they are so dangerous. They're just,
yeah. It's funny because I've never had a vehicle that like vehicles were always. I got them because they had to get me to work. They had to get me to whatever. They were like whatever was the cheapest or best, used. I never was like, and then I got that little Jeep TJ, and I just was like, wow, now I get why some people really love their cars because this thing is cool. Yeah, you shift in and go and all that and everything. And so it's kind of funny because I was never really a car guy or really cared. I was always like, this thing just needs to keep running to get me from point A to B. But now I feel like I come home from my day job and I'm having an adventure driving in the Jeep with the doors off in the summer,
it's
like
fun.
it's good. It's good for your soul,
Yeah.
whether you want to call it a midlife crisis or not. I'm fully in.
Hey, there could be a lot worse things you could be doing with your time. So
Right. Right. Totally. Yeah.
cool. Well, man, we've been going for I think over an hour now, so I guess we should probably wrap it up. But this has been fun.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is take two. This has been great. I learned even some more
Yeah.
stuff about you.
No,
The second,
I know. And if I head down your way, I'll let you know
yeah,
this summer.
definitely. Yeah, I know we talked about going to the
Yeah.
Overland Expo. We definitely need to try to coordinate that. I would love that.
Yeah. In October.
Yes. Yeah. So, all right. Well, we'll be in touch. of course. Thanks again, everybody. Make sure you check out Hiker Jay's channel and go and subscribe because he's awesome. And he's got a lot of cool content. And he's always doing cool stuff with chickens and everything. So check him out for sure.
All right.
All right,
Thanks, Alan.
man.
Thanks a
Take
lot.
care. I'll see you. Bye.
All right. Take care.